Stop. Before you post the new car, the upgraded apartment, the first-class ticket, before you tell your cousin, your old school friend, your group chat, "I finally made it," ask yourself this. If money really brought connection, why do so many people get lonelier the moment they level up? Why do lottery winners go into hiding? Why do entrepreneurs who were loud when they were struggling suddenly go quiet once the money actually hits? If success is something to celebrate, why do the smartest people you know celebrate in private? Why do the truly rich never look as rich as they are, while the loudest flexers are usually one bill away from panic? Here's the dangerous truth. Money doesn't just change what you can buy. It changes what people think they're allowed to take. When you were broke, your problems were invisible. Nobody asked you for loans because they knew you had nothing. Nobody measured your love in gifts or vacations or opportunities. Struggling. Safe. The moment money appears, the story shifts. You become a walking opportunity, a target, a solution, a ladder. Machiavelli understood this long before Instagram, long before flex culture, long before quiet luxury became a trend. Sit with that for a second. People will cry at funerals and move on, but take their money, limit their access to resources, close the tap they thought would always flow, and they will never forgive you. In their nervous system, loss of wealth burns deeper than loss of family. Now flip that. If people react like that to losing their money, what do you think happens when they smell yours? Suddenly, your good news becomes their mental spreadsheet. They might never say it out loud, but you'll feel it. In the way they look at your new place. In the way old favors get dug up and placed in front of you like invoices. This is why, when you get rich, tell no one isn't paranoia. It's self-defense. It's Machiavellian. Because here's another ugly truth. Money doesn't make people more grateful. It magnifies what they already are. Entitled people become more entitled. Greedy people become more obvious. Weak people become more dependent. Envious people become more subtle and more dangerous. You saw a baby version of this when you were younger. Think of the kid who had a little more than everyone else. A better phone, a nicer backpack, parents with a nicer car. People didn't just like them more, they judged them harder. They envied them, they tested them. Now take that childish dynamic and give it adult stakes. Rent, debt, struggling businesses, sick parents, missed opportunities, resentment. You think you're just sharing your glow up. Machiavelli wasn't gentle about this. He knew that appearances of wealth shift how people treat you long before they understand anything about your character. People don't care if you're still paying off loans. They don't care if your business is fragile, your income unstable, your anxiety constant. They see the new car, the better clothes, the vacations, the restaurant photos, and in their mind, that appearance is the full reality. They won't see calculated risk. They won't see sleepless nights. They won't see the years you spent broke. And once they believe that appearance, they start doing their own math with your money. Notice the pattern? The more visible your wealth becomes, the more invisible your struggle becomes. The more they assume you don't feel lost the way they do. That's why the smartest players mask. They let you see some of the glow, but never the full current. They drive a car one level below what they can afford. They dress well, but not loudly. They post one vacation, not 6. They talk about doing okay when they're doing far better than okay. Not because they're ashamed, because they understand how human beings are wired. Now there's another Machiavellian angle here that nobody talks about: generosity. When you first touch money, you feel this rush of guilt and gratitude. You remember who was there when you had nothing. You want to give back. Part of that is love. Part of that is fear. Fear that if you don't share, they'll see you as selfish. Fear that if you don't spread it around, you don't deserve to have it. Machiavelli saw the same dynamic in rulers who tried to be generous to everyone. And he warned them what would happen. In the end, it will be necessary, if he wants to maintain a name for liberality, to burden the people extraordinarily, to be rigorous with taxes, and to do all those things that can be done to get money. Translated into your life, if you try to be known as the generous one to everyone, you will financially exhaust yourself trying to maintain that image. Then, when you inevitably can't keep up, you won't be praised for everything you did. You'll be resented for what you stopped doing. They'll say, "Wow." You will have rewarded the few, offended the many, and put yourself in danger, exactly like the prince Machiavelli was warning. So the dark money rule here is brutal. If you want your wealth to last, your generosity must be strategic, not theatrical. You help in ways that don't destroy your foundation. You give where there is reciprocity, responsibility, and respect, not just history and guilt. First, the obvious predators appear. That part is easy to see. The more dangerous shift happens with the people you trust. Your parents start hinting about lifestyle upgrades. Your siblings start expecting you to cover emergencies as a default. Your friends start joking, "You're paying, you're the rich one now," and everyone laughs, except you. Your partner starts seeing your money as the baseline, and any dip as you failing, not a normal fluctuation. And once that new normal is set, you're trapped. That's how wealth enslaves people who never learn to protect it. Machiavelli would tell you, the moment you let that identity solidify in others' minds, you've lost a piece of your power. You've turned your capital into a public utility. You've given the crowd veto power over your financial decisions. That's why tell no one is more than just not posting. It's about controlling your story. Publicly, you are doing better, comfortable, blessed, alhamdulillah, whatever mild phrase fits your culture. Privately, you are calculating, learning, building, moving pieces they know nothing about. Publicly, you let them think you're careful with money, maybe even a bit boring about it. Privately, you know exactly what you're stacking, where your assets are, how your cash flows. Privately, you already arrived 2 years ago. It's not lying, it's self-defense. You're not obligated to give everyone a live feed of your net worth. Another dark angle, envy. And some will mean it, many won't. They'll smile, hug you, drop emoji reactions on your stories, while something tightens in their chest every time you win. You'll notice it in small glitches, compliments with a sting, "must be nice" jokes. If you're naive, you'll try to fix their envy. You'll shrink. You'll downplay your reality to soothe their discomfort. If you're smart, you won't even trigger it that hard in the first place because you never gave them a full view of what you really have. You let them underestimate you. You let them think you're just a little ahead, not miles. That, too, is Machiavellian. The less they know, the less they can resent. The less they resent, the safer you are. So what does "when you get rich, tell no one" actually look like in real life? It looks like still living slightly below what you can afford, even when you don't have to anymore. It looks like upgrading slowly, not all at once, so it never feels like a dramatic jump people gossip about. It looks like investing discoveries, business wins, and big numbers staying inside your notebook, not in your captions. It looks like saying, "I'm working on some things," instead of giving a TED Talk about your portfolio. It looks like letting people underestimate how much you have, while you quietly over-prepare for the future. And yes, it looks like disappointing some people who believed that your success would automatically become their ATM. People who had silent plans for your money long before it arrived. Those people will say you've changed. But the truth is, you didn't forget where you came from. You just finally remembered where you're going. From a Machiavellian lens, Money is not just comfort, it's leverage. It's the ability to say no without your life collapsing. It's the power to walk away from jobs, relationships, and environments that eat your soul. It's escape velocity. And you don't hand that away just to keep everyone feeling comfortable. Part 1 is about this realization. Wealth isn't just a number, it's a signal. When that signal gets too loud, human nature wakes up. Greedy, entitled, envious, needy. If you want to survive that, you can't be romantic. You have to be strategic. In the next parts, we'll go even darker and more practical. Who, if anyone, you should tell when your money levels up, and how to test them before they ever know the full story. How to design a lifestyle that looks comfortable from the outside but hides the true depth of your wealth. The Machiavellian way to be generous without becoming a public wallet, and how to say no in a way that ends conversations instead of starting wars. By now, you've probably felt that quiet paranoia creeping in. If I actually get rich, who can I trust? Who can I tell? Good, you're finally asking the right questions. Wealth without paranoia is fantasy. Not the panicked, sleepless kind, calm, strategic paranoia. The kind that makes you careful with who gets a key to the vault, not just a tour of the lobby. Let's start with the most uncomfortable truth. The people who will feel most entitled to your money are not strangers. It's the ones who believe your success is their return on investment. Family, old friends, partners. So the first dark money rule of part 2 is this. Before you get rich, decide who, if anyone, ever gets to see the full picture. You need layers, circles, masks. Outer circle, the world, social media, acquaintances. They should know almost nothing. Boring, forgettable, safe. Middle circle, friends, extended family, colleagues. They can know you're comfortable, that things are better now, but never hard numbers, never full details. Inner circle, maybe 2 or 3 people. The ones who would still love you if you lost it all. The ones who cared when you were a nobody. Maybe a partner, a sibling, a friend. Maybe no one if you haven't met them yet. Everyone who hears about your money should be sitting in one of those circles on purpose, not by accident. Comment. I used to think, if I eat, we all eat was noble. Here's where Machiavelli walks in with his cold lamp and shines it straight at your hesitation. You probably have people you already know are risky. The cousin who never pays back. The friend who guilt trips you over small things. The parent who uses emotional leverage. He would call that foolish. You don't wait to set boundaries after the money comes. You set them now, when the stakes are low and the patterns are clear. If someone is reckless with their own money today, they will see your wealth as a rescue boat tomorrow. If someone can't hear no from you on small favors now, they will riot inside when you say no to big ones later. If someone makes you feel guilty for having anything today, they will resent you for having everything later. The wise cut early. The fool cuts only when the bleeding can't be ignored. Same cut, different timing. One looks cold, the other looks desperate. So you test people before you tell them anything. Say no gently to a small request. Watch the reaction. Tell them you're saving and can't lend right now. Watch if they respect that or mock it. Show them you're busy and can't always be available. If the small no causes a big explosion, imagine what will happen when the numbers are bigger. That's how you get drama. You just start being a little less available, a little more private, a little less eager to solve everyone's problems with your time and your limited money. Whoever can't handle that version of you has no business meeting your rich version. Now let's talk about promises. The poor version of you has probably said a lot of them. They felt good when you said them, motivational, loving, loyal. But Machiavelli would look at those promises and see chains. Sometimes you promise something because at that moment it feels necessary. It comforts people, it gives hope, it bonds you. But when reality arrives, when the cost of keeping that promise could threaten your future, You face a choice. Keep your word and destroy your position, or break it and protect what actually feeds your life. Most people will call that selfish, immoral, heartless. But think carefully. You promised your brother you'd clear his debts one day. Now you could, but it would wipe out your down payment for a house. Do you sacrifice your stability to temporarily rescue his bad habits? You promised your parents you'd send big money every month. Now your business is cash flow sensitive. Do you drain growth just to maintain an image of the good child? Now you see they have no discipline, no drive. Do you throw your capital into projects you know will fail just to look loyal? This is where dark money rules get cruel. Your primary duty is to the engine that produces the wealth, not to the fantasies people built on it. Keeping every promise you made when you were naive and broke is how you end up rich on paper and broke in reality. Breaking some of those promises, quietly, without big speeches, is sometimes the only way to keep your future alive. Now, let's zoom in on lifestyle. The easiest way to lose money fast is to let your ego drive your spending. The second easiest is to let other people's egos drive it. You finally make real money. Suddenly, the pressure doesn't come from inside you, it comes from around you. In Machiavellian terms, this is the crowd trying to script your image. Why? Most people see the show, not the structure. They see the car, not the loan, the apartment, not the mortgage, the trip, not the tax bill. They're impressed by signs of wealth, not by the invisible discipline that actually creates it. If you let that crowd set your standards, you'll end up overextended, overexposed, and one crisis away from collapse. You'll look rich to people who don't matter and be fragile in front of the forces that do. Illness, inflation, market shifts, legal trouble, family emergencies. Dark money rule: it's better to be rich and look comfortable than to look rich and be one bad quarter from selling everything. That might mean driving something reliable and clean, not necessarily status symbol level. Renting or owning in a good area, but not the flashiest one. Taking nice trips, but not every 2 weeks with a full content shoot. Wearing quality, low-logo clothes instead of loud designer everything. You're not denying yourself, you're choosing sleep over spectacle. Now, there's another side to this: risk. You might think, hearing all this, that the Machiavellian play is to hoard money, never spend, never invest, live in fear. That's not power. That's scarcity dressed as strategy. Machiavellian respected risk. He wasn't telling you to be timid. He was telling you to be deliberate. You don't build real wealth without danger. You will sign deals that could fail. You will make investments that could tank. You will take swings that could miss. Playing safe forever keeps you small. But here's the difference between a reckless flexor and a Machiavellian wealth builder. The flexor takes danger in public, visible, loud, dramatic. They lease cars they can't afford, buy watches on credit, rent penthouses for photos, throw huge parties. Their risk is on display, which means their failure will be too. The Machiavellian takes danger in private. They risk in assets and moves most people never see. The business they're building quietly, the properties under an unassuming company name, the stocks and ventures they never talk about at dinners. You'll see them at the same cafe, in the same hoodie, cracking the same simple jokes. You won't see the millions they move with a few signatures and phone calls. So yes, you will risk, but not to impress, to expand. And if you fall in silence, recalibrate, and nobody outside your inner circle ever knows how deep it went. Let's make this brutally practical. 6 figures, 7, whatever big means in your world. You feel like screaming, "We made it!" from the rooftops. Don't. Here's what you do instead. You disappear for a bit. Not from everyone, just from public performance. Less posting, less bragging. You go quiet because you're thinking, not because you're hiding from success. You pay down bad debt. Not sexy, not Instagrammable. Essential. Every toxic monthly payment you eliminate is power you buy back from the future. You create a boring cushion. 6 to 12 months of living costs untouched. That's your power to walk away from a bad job, a toxic client, a crisis. You upgrade something small that you feel daily, not what other people see. Better mattress, better chair, better food. Something that makes your life better, not just your image sharper. You invest in things you don't show off. Index funds, a second property, a business system, skills. The stuff your high school group chat will never clap for because they don't understand it. Or, damn, you must be loaded. You smile and say, I'm comfortable, alhamdulillah, doing okay, just working, whatever fits your vibe. Let them underestimate you. That underestimation is your armor. Over time, you build a double life, in a good way. Quiet, reliable, unflashy. Underneath, you're the person whose money moves are getting sharper, whose options are expanding, whose ability to walk away from nonsense grows every year. People will still project, still guess, still gossip. Let them. That's background noise. Your real work is invisible. Choosing who to let close, which promises to keep, which to quietly bury, where to risk, where to stay still, when to step back, when to strike. In Part 1, you learned that wealth triggers greed, entitlement, and envy, and that telling everyone is the fastest way to drown in other people's expectations. In Part 2, you've seen the structure. Test people before you're rich, not after. Break naive promises to protect adult realities. Let your lifestyle lag behind your net worth. Risk big in private moves, not public displays. In the last part, we'll take this all the way to the end game. How to use money as quiet power instead of loud decoration. How to deal with the inevitable "you changed" backlash, and how to become the kind of person who can be rich, unknown, and completely free. Because getting rich is one thing. Staying rich, mentally, emotionally, and financially, while the world tries to climb you, that's where Machiavelli's dark money rules really begin to matter. Here's the part nobody really prepares you for. Not the grind to get money, but the quiet, strange life you have to live once you actually have it. Because secretly, you've always imagined that getting rich would fix everything. The tension in your family, the insecurity in your chest, the way people treat you. You thought, once I have money, I'll finally relax. I'll finally be loved the right way. But money doesn't fix human nature. It exposes it. You've already seen the hints. The weird reactions when you win small. The jealousy when something good finally happens to you. The must be nice comments over tiny upgrades. If they react like that to crumbs, what do you think they'll do when they see the whole cake? This is why, when you get rich, tell no one isn't a cute slogan. It's a survival code. And in this last part, we're not just protecting your money, we're weaponizing it, quietly, so that instead of money owning you, it becomes the cold power that lets you walk away from any person, any place, any game that insults your soul. Let's start with something your motivational feeds never say out loud. The way you relate to money now is the way you'll relate to it when you're rich, just with more zeros. If you feel guilty saying no to a 5,000 rupee request, you'll feel guilty saying no to 500,000. If you feel responsible for everyone's problems when you're broke, you'll feel responsible for everyone's lives when you're wealthy. If you're terrified of disappointing people with "I can't afford it now," you'll be terrified of disappointing them with "I don't want to pay for that" later. Money doesn't give you a new backbone. If anything, it makes your lack of one much more expensive. Machiavelli saw something similar in power. He wasn't writing about bank accounts, but about rulers whose whole strategy was built for one moment and then never adapted. When you were broke, one conduct made sense. Hustle loudly, tell your story, network everywhere, take every opportunity, accept every favor. You needed attention, support, momentum. You get constantly drained, constantly pressured, constantly targeted. The times change. Your conduct must change with them. Comment: it hit me that I can't keep the "I'm grinding, support me" personality once the money lands. There is a version of you that made sense when you were hungry, always accessible, always grateful, always loud about the struggle. That version cannot be the one guarding your wealth. So you evolve. Not spiritually in some vague way, but tactically. The poor you chased exposure. The rich you chases invisibility. The poor you announced every move. The poor you felt honored to be invited into rooms. The rich you quietly builds rooms of your own. Then there's the question you've probably felt burning in your chest. How do I even know how to move when I've never been here before? I don't come from money. Translation: don't freestyle your way through wealth. Study the ones who kept it and kept their freedom. Not the loud celebrities drowning in scandals. Not the influencers flashing rented lifestyles. The quiet rich. The boring-looking ones. The "I had no idea they were that loaded" ones. You'll notice patterns. They don't explain their finances to people who don't have any. They don't argue about money with family in front of everyone. They don't broadcast their exact income, investments, or deals. They hire boring professionals, lawyers, accountants, planners, while everyone else is busy buying symbols. They look normal in public and move like giants on paper. Comment: the scariest thing is realizing the richest people I've met are the ones I never suspected. So if you're wise, you imitate that path. You don't have to match their numbers to match their habits. You start thinking in structures, not flexes. That's where the next Machiavellian line comes in, one that sounds like it belongs in a history book, but actually belongs in your bank app. A prince must lay solid foundations, otherwise he will inevitably be destroyed. Your wealth is your little state. If its foundations are weak, one storm, one lawsuit, one medical emergency, one betrayal, one downturn can wipe you out. Your good laws are your rules. I don't co-sign loans for people who can't even manage their own. I don't invest in what I don't understand. I don't say yes on the spot to emotional money requests. I don't mix family obligation with blind financial stupidity. Your good arms are your defenses. Contracts instead of handshakes. Insurance instead of blind hope. Separate accounts instead of one messy pot everyone drinks from. Professionals who tell you the truth instead of friends who tell you what feels good. Without those foundations, being rich is like living in a glass house during a rock-throwing contest. It looks beautiful until it doesn't. When you start using these dark money rules, that sentence is guaranteed. And it's not going to come from strangers. It's going to come from people who remember the version of you who was available 24/7, splitting every last dollar, saying yes to every request, drowning with them just to prove you were loyal. You freeze. The guilt hits. Machiavelli wouldn't shout over that guilt. He'd whisper something worse. What are you willing to destroy to keep your old image alive? Because make no mistake, that's the choice. You can keep being the hero in their story, the rescuer, the lender, the hero child, the "we made it" sponsor, and slowly become the villain in your own life, resentful, burned out, trapped. Or you can let them call you selfish, cold, changed, and quietly build a future where nobody decides your survival but you. Here's what nobody tells you. You are allowed to let money change how you behave without letting it change who you are. Who you are is loyalty, care, generosity, drive. How you behave with money must become boundaries, strategy, distance when needed. You can still help people, you just won't destroy your foundations to give them a temporary high. You can still be generous, you just won't finance the same self-sabotaging patterns over and over. You can still love your family, you just won't let them turn your success into a never-ending obligation you can never escape. From the outside, they might not see the difference. To them, rich plus not constantly bailing everyone out equals selfish. That's their math. Let them keep it. You have a new equation. I protect the engine first. Then, from strength, I choose who to help, how much, and how often. Not from guilt, from clarity. And yes, some people will fall away. Some relationships will crack. Some group chats will go quiet. That silence you hear? That's the sound of your life finally becoming honest. The ones who only loved you broke will disappear when you refuse to stay broke with them. The ones who truly love you will adjust, eventually, to the new terms: love, respect, but no more financial self-destruction. You haven't abandoned them, you've simply refused to let their refusal to grow dictate how far you're allowed to go. Now zoom out. What does all of this give you, beyond numbers? Real wealth, in Machiavellian terms, is not just what you have. It's what you can walk away from. The job you don't need anymore because you have enough invested. The relationship you don't cling to because you know you won't end up on the street. The city, the circle, the entire environment you can leave if it becomes too small, too toxic, too dangerous to your peace. Money becomes walk-away power. Not walk away from responsibility, but from disrespect, from stupidity, from traps. And that's why you don't scream it from rooftops when it arrives. You don't give away your exit routes by turning your net worth into a public festival. You don't invite sabotage from desperate, envious, or entitled people who see your freedom as their missed chance. You stay quiet. You move like someone who could leave at any time and doesn't need to prove it. So who are you now at the end of all this? You're no longer the person who wants to get rich so you can finally show everyone. You're the person who wants to get rich so you can finally not need to show anyone anything. You're no longer daydreaming of posting the big flex. You're imagining a life where nobody knows which flight you're on, which properties you own, which investments you made, but you sleep like a stone because you know. You're obsessed with actually being safe, free, untouchable. You've learned that loud money is fragile, quiet money is dangerous. So here's your recap, stripped bare. You learned that when you get rich, people don't just see your blessing, they see their opportunity. You learned that human beings cling harder to money than to memory, and that your wealth will trigger greed, entitlement, and envy in ways you can't afford to ignore. You learned that you must change your conduct when your circumstances change, or your old personality will bankrupt your new life. You learned to follow the patterns of the quiet rich, not the noise of the performative rich. You learned to build foundations, rules, protections, structures before you build a lifestyle. You learned that your money is not the prize you hand out to everyone who cheered, it's the weapon that buys your freedom to exit any game. Now the choice is simple and brutal. You can get rich the way most people fantasize about: loud, public, emotional. Of course, and keep playing savior until your wealth becomes a prison built from other people's expectations. Or, you can decide that if the money comes, and it will if you stay ruthless and smart, it will be your silent power, not your public costume. You can decide that the goal isn't to be the richest looking person in the room, it's to be the one person in the room who could disappear tomorrow and be perfectly fine. If you're done dreaming about getting rich just to impress people who don't even like themselves, tap like. If you're ready to become the kind of person who can be rich, quiet, underestimated, and still hold the power to walk away from any deal, any room, any person, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Drop a comment with rich and silent so I know you're not just fantasizing about money, you're ready to handle it like a weapon, not a toy. And send this to the one person you know who swears they're going to put everyone on when they make it, before they accidentally put themselves in a cage made of other people's needs. Because this isn't self-help. This is strategy. This is war. And from the moment your money stops needing an audience, you stop being just another success story and start becoming the quiet force they'll never see coming. Until it's too late.